Hello and welcome back to BBC News. Ukraine has praised NATO's clear-eyed stance on Russia as leaders of the defensive alliance meet in Madrid. NATO's Secretary-General described the conflict as the most serious security crisis since the Second World War. President Biden has announced that the US will expand its military presence across Europe, with its forces strengthened in all directions across land, air and sea. Meanwhile, President Zelensky has told NATO leaders that Ukraine needs $5 billion a month to fight Russian forces. So let's cross back to Madrid and back to Kasia Madera, who's there at the summit for us. And Kasia, in terms of what we've heard from NATO, a fundamental reset.
Matthew, absolutely. This was being described as a transformative summit. This strategic concept was meant to be a complete change and, well, NATO has certainly delivered. From the very beginning of this summit, we had some really big announcements. The huge increase in forces, eightfold increase from 40,000 to 300,000 forces, bolstering that eastern flank. Also, then, we heard Turkey saying that they will agree, they will join the consensus and agree to the addition of Finland and Sweden to this alliance, increasing it from 30 to 32. So a lot of really big steps, transformative steps, and also a complete rethink in the relationship that this alliance has with Russia itself. Russia is being described as a strategic threat to the alliance, a strategic threat because of the aggression, because of the war that started on the 24th of February against Ukraine. Now, Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg has insisted that this alliance will continue to provide support to Ukraine.
Allies will continue to provide major military and financial help. And today, leaders agreed to strengthen our support by agreeing a comprehensive assistance package for Ukraine. This includes secure communications, fuel, medical supplies and body armor, equipment to counter mines and chemical and biological threats, and hundreds of portable anti-drone systems. Over the longer term, we will help Ukraine transition from Soviet-era equipment to modern NATO equipment, boost interoperability, and further strengthen its defense and security institutions.
So once again, Jens Stoltenberg there saying that the support that NATO is providing will continue for as long as it takes, as long as Ukraine needs. And also adding as well that they are bolstering their defences along that very important eastern flank, which is now that border area between NATO countries and Russia, now doubling up with the addition of Finland, of course Sweden as well. This bolstering Jens Stoltenberg mentioned earlier on today.
We will strengthen our forward defences. We will enhance our battle groups in the eastern part of the alliance up to brigade levels. We will transform the NATO response force and increase the number of high readiness forces to well over 300,000. Doing more will cost more. Today, allies recommitted to the pledge we made in 2014 to spend at least 2% of GDP on defense, contributing more to NATO deployments and exercises, and we have agreed to increase NATO's common funding.
So, Jens Stoltenberg there talking about the figures, it will be expensive. Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine's president, was speaking earlier and he said that Ukraine needs $5 billion a month in order to be able to sustain itself, in order to be able to fight back against the Russian aggression. So, is NATO doing enough? This is a fundamental question. We're joined by Alexei Goncharenko, an MP for Odessa, for an area of Ukraine that is very much a target, a lot of concern. I wonder, before we talk about what is happening on the ground in Ukraine, just When you look at what's been discussed here, you've been here throughout the summit, is it enough? Is the NATO alliance, are they offering enough support?
Always not enough. And first of all, I'm happy to see that the NATO is revitalizing. And to see this a new breakthrough, a new breath of organization and uniting of the free world. That is extremely important. That is the most important for me in what is happening here today. Speaking about Ukraine, I think more should be done. Because when we heard announcements that 3 more howitzers will be given, 5 more, 10 more, I just want to remind that we have 1,000, almost 1,000 miles front line. So it's huge. And 10, 20, 30 howitzers or something else, they do not make any difference. That is a reality. So we are thankful for all support we are receiving. So 20 is better than 0, 40 is better than 20. But if we want to end this war, and we want to end this war, and the only end of this war could be a victory of Ukraine, because any other end will just continue the war. And even in this case, we need much more weapons. We need 10 times more weapons. If we would have Ukraine in March, what we have now, probably we could kick Russians off from our country at that time. So all time, every day, every time, our allies are one step behind. That is something when we're losing time. And for us, for Ukraine, losing time, it means losing people.
It's really raw to hear you say that. And when at the beginning of the war, especially having been to the border, witnessing so many millions of people cross and just escape Ukraine, escape the fighting, a lot of the people that were leaving, a lot of the refugees were talking to me about why is there no, why the skies, why is there no fly zone? And of course the risk of escalation, that's something that NATO is balancing. But I just wonder, how much frustration is there amongst Ukrainian politicians such as yourself when, yes, this huge conference, this summit is happening, but as you say, people are dying?
Absolutely, and we can't understand why NATO can provide us with drones, NATO member states, and not with fighters. We don't ask for pilots, we don't ask for boots on the ground. We ask, give us artillery, give us multiple launch rocket systems. We will do everything ourselves, but give us weaponry. Like Churchill said, give us the tools and we'll finish the work. We want to do this. Yes, we are frustrated. We hope that after, like you said, tectonic changes here, where Russia from the partner became the biggest threat, and it is said clearly in strategic concept that you now have in your hands, I hope that after this there will be practical steps to give enough weapon to Ukraine, to put real sanctions on Russia, because when they are receiving $1 billion per day for fossil fuel, they can afford this war forever. And that's the question, that it can be changed by sanctions, and we hope to see more sanctions put on Russia.
And Alexei, I've got to ask you about the situation on the ground. We, of course, are hearing a strike on a residential building in the southern city of Mykolaiv. You represent the people of Odessa. You know that there is such a huge risk to the people that you represent. I wonder, just a message for the NATO alliance, for the member states who are saying that they will support Ukraine, but is it enough?
Mykolaiv is a neighbor city I know very much. We have humanitarian Goncharenko Center in Mykolaiv, like in many other cities of Ukraine. So I know the situation there, and it's heartbreaking what is happening now. My message is clear and simple. Be brave as Ukraine. Take courageous steps. Don't be afraid of Putin or other autocrats. Just make steps, make decisions, and defend the free world. That is a crucial moment. Will the free world survive this century, will expand and be strong, or it will shrink, and we will live in the wild jungles with a bear, with a tiger, with other predators that can attack every moment peaceful nation. That is something which we should think about, and I hope this summit will give us an answer on this.
Alexei Goncharenko, politician representing the people of Odessa, thank you very much for speaking to us here, observing what is happening at this NATO summit. Jens Stoltenberg continuously saying that they will support Ukraine. He wanted a consensus. He certainly got that with the addition now of Sweden, with the addition of Finland joining the NATO family in the near future, with Turkey adding to the consensus of that increasing of the expansion of the alliance. But of course, it is what is happening on the ground in Ukraine that is at the forefront of people like Alexei, and also, of course, the leaders here, because they know what is at risk. They need to get this strategic concept right for the future of the alliance, for the future of NATO.
Kasia, thanks very much. Kasia Madera there in Madrid.